Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video we'll be taking a look at the How to Make Wargames terrain book by Games Workshop. A little while ago I made a video for the How to Paint Citadel Tanks book. I loved it, so when I got the chance to grab hold of a copy of the Wargames terrain book, I took it and here it is. So I thought it'd be fun to show you exactly what's included. It's a really good book, some great tips and tricks on how to build your own terrain for playing your Wargames. So in this video, I'll flick through the book, give you a really good look at all the contents, and then hopefully that'll give you a good idea to decide whether or not you want to pick up a copy for yourself. You probably won't find it brand new. You might if you get lucky in some stores or online, but really eBay's the place to go. There's loads of second-hand copies available, and this is a great range from a really nice time in the Games Workshop hobby, I think. Looking at the vibe of this book and also the How to Paint Tanks books, they were really encouraging you to make the hobby your own, build your own terrain for free using things you've got in the house, cardboard, foam, even junk modelling, and I really like that aspect of it. So yeah, really great book, and it really focuses on the hobby vibe, being creative and using what you've got around you. So let's get started and we'll start going through the book. It's 128 pages altogether, and this was published in 2003, and so the nice thing about this is it even mentions the contributors, the production team, and who wrote it. So rather than it being a Games Workshop product, it really does focus on all the people who've contributed to the book and made it what it is. So we're welcomed when we first open it with some images of some of the terrain that we'll see featured, and then some of the tools, and then the contents lay out exactly what's going to be included. So getting started, selecting a project, landscapes through all the different things like board, the hills, woods, water features, roads, obstacles, buildings, basing and painting, and terrain boards, and then inspiration. And it's going to cover both fantasy and sci-fi. We've got a little introduction here by David Andrew, and then we get right into it. So this is first of all just showing you some examples of the woods and how to make a hedge from a scouring pad and things like that. So this is really cool. You've probably seen this on some terrain videos if you've been watching them on YouTube, but this is a great resource. Looking through it, I've noticed that there's a lot of projects have been covered from this book. So yeah, you could definitely find them on YouTube, like how to do it. But I think this is thorough enough to show you the principles, and then you just go for it yourself, coming up with your own ideas. But this talks about selecting a project here. You can see they've got the diagrams of the boards and then the finished pieces. So going through all the planning stage you need to do. And it's interesting to see how the boards have changed so much over the years as well. In like 20 years almost of gaming, you know, these boards here for Warhammer Fantasy were quite open and quite plain, but now we're building a lot more cover, especially for Warhammer 40,000. The scenery's getting chunkier and bigger, so you're really blocking off those lines of sight and getting lots of cover, whereas here it's open warfare, everyone charging in these big units together. And so yeah, totally different, but it doesn't come away from the technique still. You can certainly implement the techniques here and make that bigger terrain. Got through different painting techniques, showing you how to use the sand to glue it and then paint it. Some grasslands, using towel in grassland. So this is maybe something you might have seen if you were into like trains and building that kind of scenery. And then your hills. I did a video myself on making some hills that were more modular rather than gluing them all in place so they're fixed. I've done it so I can pile them up on top of each other. I'll link that at the end of this video if you want to check it out. And this gives you a nice cross section, so showing you the stages. So this is all you really need. I mean, once you've seen how they do it, and then how you put like the rubble and things, and then you flock and paint it, it's pretty straightforward. It's really a case of just going through that planning stage, doing some diagrams, getting some photos online as reference guides, and then coming up with your own things. This is really nice how they do the rocks. I've made loads of rocks with this pink foam. Great fun, really easy to do as well. You need a wire cutter though, so that's important. You can do it with a knife, but it's not going to get your lines as crisp. When I did my hills, I used a knife, but I did a different technique. So if you want something that looks like this, you would need to use a hot cutter. It says here they've got the scalpel, but even that, when you're doing the big surfaces isn't that great. A wire cutter is the perfect way to go. Then we've got all different variations and combinations of all those things. So you can start putting your rocks, hills and trees together in one place. And then building big rock spires like these. So I've done something similar for my desert. I've done a video on that too. I'll put that at the end of the video as well. If you want to check that out, you can see it. So this is really fun to make and looks great on the tabletop too. Now we've got woods. Now for me, I've not made any trees. And I think these are probably the hardest looking things to make. And I've got to give it a go at one point, but they show you how to do it with the wire here, and then the different finishes you can use using the different clump foliage, even dried herbs there, and all sorts of things from rubberized horsehair with flock to moss. So lots of ways to do this, but a nice guide and a nice reference as well. I love the images in these books. I just think they're fantastic. And then you're featuring all the cool models. There's a Catachan there. These are still in play. They were made in 1999. It's amazing. And I think they still hold up. I love the derpiness of them. I think they're fantastic models. But here we've got some exotic trees and then jungle trees that Games Workshop used to make. And so here's the little step-by-step guides then. So you can even use bamboo to make these tall ones, alien trees, and then put them all together to form little woods. Now this is something I've got to do. I've bought little small trees from like a Railway Scenics set, and so I've got to put little clumps of wood together to use in 40k and in Warcry as well, so I'll be doing that soon. Water features is really nice, how they've done this, again showing you all those steps, really nicely laid out, and it's really fun to use a book. It's great to get everything online on YouTube, but going through a book like this that clearly lays it out I think is great fun. And then we've got canals, so a very similar process, just changing the shapes of the side pieces. Waterfalls. Bridges, this is a nice little one, really easy. Just get some coffee stirrers and or lollipop sticks. You can make that really easy. And it just shows you how simple a bridge could even be. And then when you see the finished thing, you're like, wow, that looks really cool. But it's actually quite simple. Then we've got a pond or lake. And so again, those cross sections. A swamp, a beach or shoreline, so it's covering everything in here. Even if you played other war games that weren't Games Workshop, this is certainly going to be a good reference, like Bolt Action or Flames of War, that kind of thing. Then we've got different types of roads, tiled road, cobbles, pattern, maybe some alien road, tarmac, and then little details, so showing you how to make all these little things. And it's all these details that really bring the battlefield to life. So it's definitely fun to do. And you could definitely get some tips from here for making objective markers and things like that too. Then we've got some obstacles now. So different walls and how to make those. And little fences. Again, using that Brillo pad. Showing you how to put that together. All different ways of making hedges and fences. Railings. Barbed wire. Sandbags, wattle fence, all sorts. So yeah, this is a really nice section too. So you can see how you can pretty much make anything for any theme here. These are good collapsed columns. You can get like wedding cake columns like that as well, the little things that separate the tiers of the cake, and you can use those. That's a really good idea. This is nice. I bought some mats to use, some like coconut mats to use for fields, and you can see they remove it so you can place your units in. I got these for my Flames of War game. Buildings, nice reference as well here. This is really good. And then drawing the plan, how to lay it all out. The shell, making the house. And then lots of different building examples just to show you exactly what you can do using that technique and apply it from things like the Rohan house right up to pillboxes like this or tower style landing pads. So the techniques are the same, it's just how you apply them. But these buildings are fantastic. So you've got it all going on here, even down to corrugated iron, cloth. So really great book. I think for me these are the best hobby books going. Yeah, and I wish they did more stuff like this now. This side of the hobby seems to have been completely lost with Games Workshop. And it's a real shame because for me, it's not just about the models and buying the sets. It is about creating your own environments and world building, being creative. And this is definitely something I want to do more of. And I built it into my Weekend Warriors game as well, the idea of junk modelling. But yeah, I mean, it's got all your doors and windows. So as far as a reference goes, this book has got it all. I don't think you need much else after this. Look at that, that's cool. The windmill. Basing and painting. Different materials again. So we're looking at sort of ruins now. And then how to paint. So lots of dry brushing for terrain is the way to go, definitely. And it's really easy. I mean, you can get some fantastic effects just by a simple undercoat. Don't even need to shade it, although it helps, you know, but you could just do an undercoat and a dry brush and get a fantastic result, especially for terrain where it doesn't have to be super detailed and acts more as a backdrop to your models. You know, you don't have to go crazy, but just with a bit of overbrushing, dry brushing, a few washes like they've done here, yeah, the results can be brilliant. Here's a board with everything going on now, cliffs and seashore, that looks great. All the trees together in clumps, again, nice and like sparse on the board, not much going on, but now it would be a lot more packed. This is great. I love seeing things like this, how they get like junk and then make the sci-fi things. Really cool. A volcanic death world, that's great. A Tau outpost, very bare. Gondor. Khemri. So these are really brilliant. Going into each board and each style. And here's a frozen one in Kislev. A river estuary. So if you don't get any ideas from this book, I don't know what you're going to do, really. There's so much in it. It's brilliant. Mines of Moria. This is good. Linking it all together. Really nice. And then some inspiration. And this section, you could really go online and get everything you need. And that's what I recommend. Go online, get all your pictures from Google Earth. Not Google Earth, or maybe Google Earth, that would work, but from Google Images, get loads of things, loads of reference, loads of inspiration, and then let that influence the things you create. Do some little sketches like this. This is a nice touch. I really like things like this in these kind of books. Really nice diagrams and just people putting down ideas, putting pen to paper. Love it. And then it's got a material section here. So yeah, don't be scared to use cardboard either. You can make buildings and all sorts out of cardboard. And cheap then, pretty much free. Just use what you've got lying around. And then all your fillers and textures. Get down the DIY shop. I use garage floor paint a lot on the foam because it seals it in. It takes a long time to dry and it smells. But once it's done, it's solid and nice and strong and you can paint over it no problem. You can even spray over it without ruining the foam. So that's really good. But things like the fillers work nicely as well. So yeah, you can see they're really focusing on like household kind of DIY products and merging it in with their own sprays and things, but using other art supplies. Imagine them doing that now. Do you know what I mean? They'd never refer to another company like that. So yeah, good to see all this included because it really is focusing on the hobby and not so much on just like sales all the time, which I think is really nice because you are going to buy all their things as well. You know, you're going to do your own creations like this and then you're going to buy the products they put and merge them together. So yeah, I really like how they presented the book and the whole vibe of it I think is really nice. Got your tools section. So a hot wire cutter is a good way to go if you can get hold of one of those. But again, just use DIY things. Even a bread knife is okay, look, for cutting that foam. And then on the back, a Citadel colour, paints and ink range. That's certainly grown, hasn't it, since then? So yeah, that's really expanded now. A huge range. But back in the day, I guess if you wanted different coloured yellows, you do a little bit of mixing. Mix the paints up. But now you can buy them all in so many. Imagine how many yellows and blues there are now. Crazy. But I guess that's a lot helpful if you're painting an army and you want that consistency. You know you can get the paints a year later and they're pretty much going to be exactly the same, and so your paint scheme isn't going to change if you add more models to it and need more paint. So if you were mixing, it's not so easy to do then to have that continuity going right through your army. So yeah, but that's interesting to see, isn't it? And there we go. So that covers the whole book. So all up 128 pages, really great book. And if you can get hold of this one or the tank one, I can definitely recommend it. They're really good fun. And it's nice to see a different era in the hobby and how Games Workshop used to present it. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed having a look through the book. And if you'd like to pick it up, you can definitely find some copies of these on eBay. So thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'd like to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters who make these daily videos possible, and if you're interested in joining the community, it'd be awesome to see you there, and I'll put a link for that in the description down below.